Kill me! I'm here! Kill me!
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my list of my top 10 horror films of all time. Now, I am including all different types of horror, but I'm excluding horror comedies because, you might have seen something like Army of Darkness or Shaun of the Dead on here, but I don't actually consider them like horror because I don't find them to be scary. I think that they're work within the horror genre, and they're definitely related, but to me they're not real horror. But other than that, everything is game. So I'm going to get right to the list, try not to make this thing excessively long. And coming in at number 10 is my first zombie movie on this list. It's Train to Busan. I just saw this movie, very, very recently, and I absolutely love it. I think it is such a great zombie movie. I've already reviewed it for my channel, as I have a couple other movies on this list, so I'm gonna try to get to get through those movies as quickly as possible. But basically, it's got awesome zombie action. It's got everything I possibly look for out of a zombie movie. It's definitely very creepy at parts. The gore is amazing. The characters are affecting, and the movie works on every level to me. Coming in at number 9 is The Conjuring. I definitely think this is one of the scariest movies in recent years by far. It freaked me right out when I saw it, and it still does to this day. There's lots of moments in it that are super duper creepy, like the clapping thing and the jumping off the bureau thing, and there's just so many moments in it that just get you, and there are jump scares in this movie, to be sure, but they're used effectively and they're earned, and it's not just like somebody looking around the corner and jump scare, and then they're looking around another corner and jump scare. It's not over reliance, because a lot of the reason why this movie is so scary is the psychological side of it, like the idea of being a parent and having to watch your kids be abused by a being from another, like a supernatural being, and then having it come after you, and everything about this movie to me is extremely creepy. I love this movie. Then coming in at number 8 is The Lost Boys. This movie I wouldn't say is necessarily one of the scariest movies out there by any stretch of the imagination, so there's a little bit of wiggle room on whether or not I would included it on my horror list, but I absolutely love it, so I had to talk about it, and this will definitely be one that I'll do a long form review of in the future. I just love this movie. It was one I saw probably 100 times when I was growing up, because back in the day, you'd only had so many VHS movies, and this was one that I could definitely stand to watch over and over again. And I've seen it subsequently on Blu-ray and DVD. I've shown it to as many friends as I can who didn't see it, because I just think this movie is just fantastic. The vampires in it are really cool, and the whole element of them coming in and trying to take over the family house is really creepy. There's the twist kind of at the end that is actually extremely effective and surprising and great, and it was in an era where there weren't that many twists. There's an over reliance, I think, on twists these days, some of which are still work, but a lot of them don't. All the kids are really great. The performances by the teen stars in this movie are fantastic. It's just, I just absolutely love everything about this movie. Coming in at number 7 is The Shining. Now, this is well trodden land for sure, but I think that The Shining is just such a fantastic movie. It's shot so amazingly well. All the different angles and the visuals, and the way that the movie gives you the claustrophobic feeling that all the characters are kind of going through, while at the same time living in this massive estate, is just so impressive. That they did such a great job on shooting this movie. Obviously that was mainly down to Stanley Kubrick. And then as you see, as the movie progresses, because throughout most of the movie, you kind of identifying most with Jack Nicholson's character. It's the one you're seeing the most of, it, the one you're most invested in. as he kind of goes down this road to madness, you kind of back off a little bit from him, and you kind of, instead of like looking at the world they're in from his perspective, you start to just kind of look like wonder at him, and Nicholson's performance, where you can kind of just see, you know, like the moment where he's looking out the window and he's just got this like crazy look on his face that's coming over him, and as you can see it progress, you start to become more and more alarmed by it, and then by the end of the movie you're much more invested in his wife and his child's welfare, and the way that they do that switch is just so organic and great. And then this movie had another great surprise when with an axe, and I won't say anything more than that for the few people who haven't seen this movie, but this is definitely one that is a must view for any film fan, any horror fan, any Stephen King fan, even though he personally doesn't like the movie, which is mind-boggling because he likes the miniseries more, which was just such a crappy miniseries. But yeah, I mean, just such a brilliant movie. Coming at number 6 is The Orphanage, and this is a movie that I think a lot of people don't know that much about, but this movie just to me was just so incredibly creepy, and the inclusion of kids in it just really puts it over the edge for me. And when I watched it, I wasn't a father yet, so I'm not saying that because of anything to do with being a dad or anything, that kind of thing. It's just such an effective movie, and so creepy. I'm gonna try to say as little as possible about the story because it's one that you really want to kind of get into and get really affected by it. And if I tell you too much about it, I feel like I'm gonna be giving too much away, but definitely a movie you need to check out. Number 5 is The Ring. I don't care how crappy I think either of the sequels are. This movie, to me, is incredibly creepy. Like, there's so many moments in it that are so scary. Like, when you see the reveal of the victims of the tape, and you see, like, the way their faces have been, like, completely disfigured. The moment coming out of the TV, like, the visuals of the tape itself are so impressive. Like, that moment with the ladder falling over is awesome. And, like, the story is really interesting. And then the way that the movie wraps up, and you find out how she can survive the whole thing, and the moral ambiguity of that, and it's not really even all that ambiguous. But at the same time, you've been in this movie with her the entire time, so you're rooting for her to live, and the way everything in this movie plays out, I just thought it was just done to perfection, and I will always love this movie, even if I think both sequels are pretty god awful. Coming at number 4 is the original Dawn of the Dead, my all-time favorite zombie movie to this day. I absolutely love this movie. I've spoken about it before, so I won't go into it too much, but I mean, the way the story is told, I love how there's like the idea of people going to the mall to try to survive, and the way in which they kind of took that germ of a thought and really extended it as far as it could, where like you see them go in and they're emptying out the mall, and then they're barricading themselves in, and then there's like the spot in the middle where they're kind of just living a kind of almost boring life as they go around each individual store and try to find things to do. But it's also bookmarked by some really great zombie action, and there's some fantastic lines in this movie. And then when the bikers show up, and just the whole thing from beginning to end is very compelling to me, and to me it is the perfect zombie movie aside from some kind of mediocre effects, but you gotta forgive that based on when the movie was made, because that's always going to be the case. Coming in at number 3 is Jeepers Creepers, one of the best monster movies ever in my opinion, and I just love this movie. I think the soundtrack to it is so integral, and this is one of those movies where I feel like people who I've talked to who didn't like it that much, I feel like they ruined the experience for themselves. It's the only thing that makes sense to me, because I feel like if you actually sat there and watched the movie from beginning to end and didn't allow yourself to be distracted by like looking on your phone or answering a phone call and pausing it, or turning the movie off and then coming back to it later, if you really sit there and you just focus in on what you're seeing and you let yourself become invested in this role, I don't know how you could possibly come away from this movie not thinking that it was one of the creepiest movies out there, because to me it is just absolutely so creepy, and like the reveals as things go on, like the part at the beginning where they're just being chased by the truck, and then when they see what the creeper does, and then when as time goes on and they realize what may or may not be in for them, and then even just some of the random moments, like there's a moment where there's a security guard or a cop, I can't remember which one, and he's standing there, and all of a sudden like his heart gets pulled out, and you just see this look on his face where he hasn't quite died yet because it takes a second, but he realizes what's happened to him, and it's just such a creepy, cool moment, and I just absolutely love this movie and always will. Coming in number 2 is The Thing, another movie that another great monster movie, directed by John Carpenter, as both my number 2 and number 1 are, as anybody who has followed my favorite movies list will probably realize. I love The Thing. I mean, this movie is just so intense, and the tension in this is really what makes it such an incredible experience. Like the moment that really epitomizes it when they have the blood, and they're putting the hot iron metal into it and waiting for there to be a reaction or there not to be. Like that moment is just so well done. Like they allow it to breathe, and it's very slow but methodical, and it never gives you a second to get your breath. And then when everything happens in it, it's just such a perfect scene in a horror movie. And just the idea of it, where this for those of you who don't know what this movie is about, it's an alien comes to Earth, and he's able to basically amalgamate anybody around him, and they kills them and takes their spot by looking exactly like them, and each individual cell of these aliens is its own like living creature, and so at any moment it can basically take over anything, and if you destroy most of its body, its head can take off, and it's just such a creepy movie. And coming in at number 1 is In the Mouth of Madness. Another movie that I've spoken about in the past, because again, it is obviously one of my all-time favorite films, and I just absolutely love it. Like I said, it's a Carpenter film, and for those of you who don't know what this movie is about, essentially, it's the germ of the idea of this movie is basically our reality is something that we all agree upon, and what if if everybody agreed upon reality being something different? What would that do? Would that if everybody, basically the idea would be simplified by saying, when back in the day when everybody thought that the world was flat, it's impossible the world was flat just because of the fact that they thought that. Now, obviously, the world wasn't flat, but in a fiction, you can kind of go with that. And in this movie, the world gets convinced that these horrible beings have taken over, and it's just the way everything progresses. This movie is so intelligent and so creepy, and has so many like little moments in it that are just terrifying in their own regard. Like there's a moment with a painting that should get your heart beating fast, and if not, I don't understand how it could possibly not. But everything about this movie, I think, is just so well done. The acting's great, the story is awesome, the effects are really good. They're practical, and they're some of the best out there, because it's really at the height of practical effects before CG really took over, and I absolutely love this movie. So that's my list of my all-time favorite horror movies. Let me know in the comments below what you thought, if you think my choices are crazy, and what your top 10 list would be. And please hit that like button. It does a great thing for my channel. And please subscribe and hit that notification bell. I would absolutely love it for you to stick around, and that'll ensure that you do it, hopefully. So other than that, have yourself a nice day.